Hey, what's up, fam? It's Chappell, and this is Recap Kickback, the podcast where we talk about TV, movies, and whatever else I want to talk about. And this time, we are going to be talking about Pop the Balloon Live on Netflix. Now, if you're familiar with my other works, you know that I already talked about Pop the Balloon Live on the Nothing But Netflix podcast. So make sure that you go and check that out if you haven't already. But then also, you know that my co-host for that podcast was the lovely Chantele Francis, and so she is back to talk to us about episode 2 here on Recap Kickback. Chantele, welcome.
Thanks for having me. This is my first time here as well. I feel like I'm a virgin all over again. My cherry popped twice. I don't know where I'm going now. We're talking about popping things that are red. I don't know. But I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much. You're probably regretting your decision right away.
No. Quite the contrary. I was hoping this was going to be a lock. It sounds like a pop and a lock. And so we're here to talk about Pop the Balloon Live. Now, some people said after episode 1, the show was a pop. We did not need more of it. Chantele, you had your own red balloon at the time, and you were able to pop, showing that you weren't into it. You have your red balloon today. So let's talk about episode 2 and determine it. Is it a lock now? Well, are we going to be continuing watching these new live episodes on Netflix? Because you and I discussed, for the people who didn't listen to us talk about it on Nothing But Netflix, this wasn't an original Netflix property. It's now become one, but it's very different from the YouTube quality content that we had prior. So Chantele, 2 episodes in, how do you feel the translation has gone between YouTube and now Netflix?
Okay. Well, I don't think it still gives the feel yet of the original show. Mm-hmm. But I would have to say I understand now why it's live. It's so they can hear all the criticisms and do the best that they can to make some tweaks and some changes, because I would have to say episode 2 was way better than episode 1. And I don't, still not really the same as the YouTube channel version, but it was leaps and bounds better than the original episode. So I think that that's why they're doing it live, so they can be like, oh, they hate it. How can we change it? And they can fix things in the moment. So we got our answer for that at least.
Yeah, that's a good point. We saw Yvonne Orji as our host for episode 1, and you're right. I think that although she is the host, that remains the same. We still have the Love Lounge as well. That's still there. But there are some changes that have happened between episode 1 and 2 that were noticeable. For one, we're not sweeping up balloons in the intermission anymore. That they seemingly have gotten rid of that. Chantele, is that one of the things that you felt like helped move the show into a little bit higher quality?
I mean, I think that was kind of funny. I was agreeing with you that it was like a little campy to see them sweeping up the balloons that were popping. I just feel as though maybe it was because it was women that were doing the dating. It just seemed like it was a little more serious. It seemed like they were asking more questions that were getting towards whether people were dateable or like willing to like pursue some sort of relationship with. Less gimmicky, I guess. So like that, I guess the balloon sweeping was kind of gimmicky. So maybe, I don't know, it just seemed a little bit more authentic and a little bit more real and less of like Johnny Bananas making a fool of himself on a reality show. It seemed a little bit more genuine.
That is true. So we had pop star Johnny Bananas as one of our lead daters who did make a splash. We got a lot of controversial content from Johnny Bananas. And to y'all who are familiar with the reality TV space, you're not shocked by that at all. But I think he make the show a little less serious as our primary dater in episode 1. Whereas here, it felt like, we've obviously moved away from the men being the primaries here. We have the women who will be stepping up as our main daters, but we didn't have anybody who was as goofy as Bananas. And so I think the levity is kind of gone in those ways. Like Yvonne Orji is very funny, so she does keep it light, but you're right. It felt like, okay, these people might actually be here to make a match. And so maybe, I don't know, Chantele, maybe it's the women. Maybe they were the problem. Maybe it was the fact that y'all were popping the balloon so early. If you're listening to this.
That's maybe, there was, I would say that the caliber of the women, primary daters, in my opinion, were higher quality than the men that were the original daters. So I understand why the women were popping their balloon a little bit more so. But I do have to agree that the men didn't pop their balloons at all. Like, all the women had an opportunity to come on. They had to speak for a little bit, and it took a while. And I was like, did they remember they're on Pop the Balloon? Like, are they all really staying for this long? But I think that maybe a note came that, hey, let's wait a little bit to pop the balloon. Yeah, I think that was probably what they were told until at least you got started asking questions.
I'd probably agree with that a little bit too, and I'd say that maybe they get a note, to let the people get the questions out first before we start popping the balloons, because then that way you don't have to have so many daters on. I think in the episode 1 we went through 4 people, whereas here, like, we got a good amount of time with a couple of these daters. I think we only had 3, and so just based on that alone, it gives you a chance to learn these people. Also, I think that I honestly think it kind of goes against the feel of the show, even that they're not popping the balloon so fast. Like, I hate to kind of contradict myself and say that they should be waiting longer, but on the YouTube version, people are popping the moment you walk out. Like, immediately, like, I didn't like the shirt. You're not tall enough. Things like that. And I feel like episode 1 kind of gave you that. Whereas this episode felt like, no, let's take this seriously. Maybe we're here for a real dating situation. Maybe the men didn't feel as comfortable, maybe popping for superficial reasons on Netflix. Maybe YouTube makes it feel like, okay, it's just YouTube. But Netflix is for 1 billion viewers that are, live. I don't know. There's something different, though. You're right about episodes 1 and 2.
I think it's because, so on the original series, Black daters all around. So I think that there would be an issue, since it's more multicultural and multiracial, that if people start like, a person of a certain background comes on and immediately somebody of another background pops a balloon, I think it would look negatively on the network. It would become Pop the Racist Balloon or something, you know what I mean? So I think that maybe they were avoiding having the balloon be popped for, superficial reasons in that way, more so racial stereotypes.
Right. One noticeable difference is that we didn't get a pop star as one of the primaries. We didn't get Johnny Bananas, but we did get somebody that we are familiar with from reality TV. Our boy Cinco is here from plenty of the shows that you've talked about, I'm sure.
I definitely am very familiar with Cinco. Now, I think he's a very handsome man, but I don't know if he's a perfect dating caliber man. He comes from Love Island, where he had a little bit of a threesome affair thing going on with Cachet, and I can't remember the other girl's name right now.
Yeah, a bit of a love triangle, I'd say.
Right? And so then after he was dating Cachet, but then there was a lot of controversy, we'll say, going around within their relationship and stuff like that. And I'm not sure about his relationship after Cachet, but I don't know how I feel about him being a dater, if he's that serious about it right now.
Ooh, was there any other pop stars on this episode as well? Like, I only recognize Cinco, obviously, but like, was there anybody else that was on the panel that I might have missed?
Zaina. Well, not on the panel, as a dater.
Oh, okay. So we did get Zaina. No, okay. So she is from The Ultimatum, right?
Yes. Okay, yeah, I've watched The Ultimatum. So you haven't seen her season?
No, I have no clue who this woman is.
Honestly, she was, I would say, the star of that season, the most recent season of The Ultimatum. She went on with her boyfriend JR, who wasn't the greatest guy. It was pretty messy, but she was just like a great girlfriend, a great woman, had great values. Like, everybody was rooting for Zaina and just didn't understand why she was in this relationship with this man. So I would say that she was a high caliber datee here in this episode.
Okay, well, we'll get
and
to
she's
Zaina
gorgeous,
in just
obviously.
a minute. Obviously, yeah. We'll get to Zaina. But we do have to talk about our other daters here. And so, who's the first one we meet? It's Angela, right? The 25-year-old dentist in training. She goes by Angie. She's lives in Dallas, and she's looking for a power couple. And she needs a man who's respectful and knows how to dress. And so she probably would have popped the balloon for Johnny Bananas immediately.
100%. I think she would pop the balloon. Well, you know what? She seemed quite generous, to be honest. And so Bananas probably popped immediately, but I think she would probably taken her time with the other daters last week.
Yeah. Was there any of these daters on the panel, aside from Cinco, that stood out to you? Because we had a few, like we said, nobody really pops their balloon initially. She's able to kind of whittle them down slowly. But yeah, who were the standouts from your point of view?
Like for me to date or for Angela to
No,
date?
just in general on the show. Like if you want to talk about who you want to date, Chantele, of course, I told you we're here to get in your business. But
and we got to get into yours a little bit too, because Miss Angela, she lives in Texas, so that's
she lives in Dallas.
You, I'd say.
Yeah.
Would she be something you might be sliding into her DMs?
She's a little young for me. I believe she's 25, and I'm an elder statesman at this point.
Oh my God, so, you're an old man now. I forgot.
I'm an old man now. So yeah, I was like 25, like, whew, I don't know if I pop immediately, but it definitely is gonna be like, I don't know about that one. Not 25.
What's your cutoff?
I don't know if I have a cutoff like in mind, but when I heard 25, I said, ooh, like that, like that one that's definitely going to slow me down. Now, again,
my little sister's 25, and I'm like, yeah, you're too old for her. So
exactly, yeah, exactly. No, but it makes sense, right? And so I think the age is something that obviously is going to get a couple balloons popped for some people, but it's not really an issue here with Angela. She has a few people who are around her age, and like JVN and Logan, Dylan, I believe, Rolando, they're all about 24, 25. The elder people here are like Floyd, who's 29, Cinco, who's 29, and I think somebody was 34, maybe Seth. And so
I think it's 33 or 34, but yeah.
Yeah. So again, there's about anywhere between 1 or 2 years up to like 9 years age difference on her. So they didn't have any big moments when it comes to age. But I thought some of the questions were really good. She starts off asking, what are your long-term goals? What is your 5-year plan? And I don't know. What do you think about the answers?
I mean, I feel like it's like it's like a good question to kind of get to know people a little bit, to see what their passions are, what they're looking at. This is the one where Cinco was like, I didn't really like that question. It was kind of generic, right? It was this question that she'd asked that he was quite offended by it. I'm like, rude. Like, Cinco, why is he being so rude with this woman that's on a TV show? It's live, and asking a question. You're kind of chirping her about her question. I was like, I would have popped my balloon for Cinco in that moment. I'd be like, well, come up with a better question. Well, he kind of did, but like, it wasn't good. Anyways, so yeah, that's what really stood out, was the fact that he was like, I'm into my modeling and into my acting and to my personal training, and I didn't really think that question was that great. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, he said it was too vague. It's like 5 years is too much. He's I guess he kind of wants more something. I guess he said more specific. Like, what is it about your specific career that you like right now, or do you have any goals in modeling that you want to do? I don't know. Like whenever we see the pop stars show up, I'm always kind of looking at them sideways, because no disrespect to Cinco, this is like what, his 3rd or 4th dating show that he's been on, probably, or he did at least one other dating show in 1 or 2 seasons of the challenge.
Which other dating show did he do though? He did Love Island.
He did the Love Island. He did the challenge, and I guess this is 3. This is number 3. I feel like Cinco's been on something else. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, but anyway,
I don't think he did Perfect Match, did he?
Yeah, maybe not. But my point here is that if I see that you've been on reality TV a few times, I don't know how seriously I take you if you're like, this is the one that I'm supposed to be for real about. Like, this is the one that you're supposed to be looking at as a serious dating match. So I wasn't actually shocked that like Cinco didn't immediately get picked up, but eventually, things his luck does change.
Well, and with him like thinking the answer was too generic, too vague, like then just give a generic and vague answer back. I'm like, in 5 years, like I really hope that I'm excelling in all areas of my life. Maybe I have a certain someone that I can, be getting through this life with together. Like I would like to be in a serious relationship, and I want my career to go, whatever, to the next level. It's a pretty generic answer, and I think but I think none of them took it as an opportunity to include her in their 5-year plan or a relationship in their 5-year plan, which I think is kind of what you would hope that somebody would say that, you know what I mean? Like, I want to be in a relationship. I want to be in a long-term relationship. I'm hoping that, maybe I'll meet somebody soon. Maybe it's you. Like, you would think that they would use it as an opportunity to kind of, butter up, but none of them really did.
Yeah, the sparks are not flying with her and Cinco. He kind of friend zones her and says that she's more like a homegirl. There's also I think Rolando ends up popping his balloon. He says she's not his type. He likes white women and light skinned women and Asian women.
Okay, I was writing this, I was watching this, and I was making my notes in the Uber back from the airport, and I was like, and the Uber driver's like,
like what happened? Yeah,
yes, because I'm like, oh, sorry, I'm just watching a show. But when he said I like lighter skinned women, like that's why he popped the balloon. That's why I think that they held off from popping the balloons right away, because if they pop and then Yvonne and the datee walk over to them being like, yeah, like your skin tone is too dark for me, like that can't really happen on Netflix. And
well, it happened last week. On the first episode, that one woman who pops her balloon immediately says, I like black men. I was like, that's it? Like that's your entire type, white lady? You know what I'm saying? I just thought it was very odd for her to say that.
Well, then again, she doesn't like the black man's features. I was like,
exactly. I was like, what do you mean by that? You know?
Let's go deeper here.
What do you really mean? That. So I guess at least the people are being honest, I guess. But personally, wild thing to say as a non-black person, to say this about a darker skinned person or vice versa. I think that, like if you're black, I think you can say it. I think you can say I like black people.
Yes.
Yeah, but
I don't think you could say like your skin tone is too dark.
It's too light. Okay, yeah,
actually, do you know what I have to say? So my mom, she's got both of her parents are mixed, so she's very light skinned. And when she moved to Canada, she really, really didn't like being light skinned because she got made fun of, and like people. And she had a Jamaican accent and all that stuff. And so she prayed that she could marry the darkest man that she could find so that her children would have a really nice complexion. So maybe I can look at it in that sense, where she was like definitely looking to date darker skinned people to help me out here, because they didn't, so I wouldn't experience the same stuff.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and act like colorism ain't real. It's definitely a thing, especially internalized colorism. It happens. And so, like those things happen. The thing is that when you're on Netflix, you should at least know enough to not say those things out loud. I think if nothing else. So like I said, that the white woman in episode 1 being like, I like black men. It's like, okay, well, why? Why is that? Like I need more information about like why you who are not black decides that, like if you told me you were black and you like black men, oh, okay, cool. You probably like familiarity. This is like maybe not, and so
like
even here, right? Yeah, that's what it was kind of giving me in the first episode. This here definitely felt like colorism a little bit. I like light skinned women, Latinas, Asian, basically not black, and so I was like,
or not somebody that looks black,
right? Not somebody that looks black, and so it felt like just questionable, I will say, at least. So
well, again, and I bet you that type of answer will be covered next week. I don't think that it's going to happen a third time,
no,
because it doesn't, like, if I'm gasping, a lot of people that are watching are probably like, ooh, like, or recognizing that he said something that was a little bit offside.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think what one thing that's always been a complaint when I cover any of these dating shows is, I mentioned in the first episode that the black women usually have the hardest time. Black men as well, but the black women, I would say more so, have a hard time, because a lot of the men that they invite onto the show aren't interested in dating everybody. They have their specific types. It's usually blonde. It's usually blonde. It's usually blonde, as if like that's like a personality trait. But so they don't tend to have a black woman as their dating types or who they're looking for. And so I'm sure that in their vetting process, they're like, do you date everybody? Do you date everybody? And I think that that's something that they probably, wanted to reinforce with the people as they're vetting them. So maybe that's why she felt comfortable saying that. Yeah, she does date everybody. And so maybe she just, wanted her moment.
Yeah. Well, who does get discriminated against on this show? Short kings. In episode 1 and episode 2, short people are not catching a break. We're not beating the height allegations here. Dylan is popped because he's short, but the dudes all support him. They're like, no, short king, you dropped your crown, keep your head up. I think there's a couple people on this show that probably skew on the shorter side. Chantele, you said height would be an issue for you, though.
If I got to know somebody first, obviously things could change. But if we're just looking at basic aesthetics, when you walk out on a stage, it would be something that I'd be like, I mean, both of those two guys were like, they're okay looking. I didn't really find their personalities that great. So like, I probably would pop my balloon and the height thing would be like, okay, yeah, they're not funny. I don't find them that cute and they're not that tall. So it's just going to be like 3 strikes. Let's pop that balloon. And also that they're standing beside like Cinco. Cinco was like 6'3", and like, he just looks, they just didn't look great beside each other. You know what I mean? And so he just looks a lot smaller, which I don't know. It just when we wear heels, it just doesn't feel big. You want to feel want to feel small usually.
We're gonna get into that conversation definitely on the next dater for sure. But on this particular round, I think we saw Floyd, who is a pilot, get his balloon popped. She says he's a little reserved. I don't know, Chantele. I feel like if you put me on a Netflix show with the cameras on, I might clam up a little bit. I don't know if
I think you've gotten over. I know you say that you're kind of shy, but like I think you've gotten over your shyness now, and I think that you would put it on. You would turn it on.
It's tough. It's tough because I'm very good on the one-on-one. Like if you can get me by myself, I'm very much like I'm partying. It's a good time. But you got Yvonne Orgy over there looking at me, and then you got the camera zooming in, and then you got Cinco 6'5" standing next to me. I don't know. I might be quiet a little bit. I might get a little reserved. I think I would have got my balloon popped here.
Prove it. Okay, we are going to petition for Chappell to be on the next episode of Pop the Balloon.
Now, why would you do that? Yeah, why would you do that? Get me over there looking like quiet, like, sir, do you? And everybody at home being like, this man is a clown. Why are you acting like you're so quiet? Like, I think I would be nervous. I do.
What would you wear?
See, yeah, that's another thing. What would I wear? Now, don't get me wrong. I show up and show out for the live show, so I could put on a little something. I got the right look. I got the right pair of J's. Actually, I'm kind of into my cowboy era lately. Anyway, I've been wearing my hats.
Going for that cowboy look, I think people would be feeling it.
It's kind of my thing. Look, it's kind of my thing. I'm a Texan through and through, so I like it. But that's not for everybody. Maybe everybody doesn't like the cowboy look, the trail ride look. But that's kind of me these days.
But like,
yeah.
No,
gotta be me.
I think it would be I'm gonna actually see if we can get you.
I'm gonna pray against
you. Don't say no to opportunity, right? So if somebody came knocking on your door saying like, do you want to be a dater on the next episode of Pop the Balloon?
I'm saying no
for research.
Yeah, aggressively saying no. But look, if I'm going down, you coming with me. I will make sure to applaud us both for it.
I'm definitely too old for like anybody that they're ever gonna have as a dater, and so I would be.
I think I've aged out as well based on what we've seen to this point, Chantele. But maybe they got a golden Pop the Balloon coming for you and I.
I mean, maybe we should start something new.
Yeah. Who knows? For the more seasoned balloon poppers, that is. So this comes down to Yinka and Javian, and they're asking some good questions. She asks, what's the hardest thing about dating them? And Javian says it's because he doesn't date until he's serious, and Yinka says he's very serious about his faith, and he needs somebody who is equally as serious. How do you feel about this question, and what do you think about the answers that we get from these two men?
I feel as though, Javian, he's really cute. He's really young.
24.
He's 23.
23? Oh God.
Yeah. He's really young. So I like him, and so I like his answer. You know what I mean? I just I like that, he's cute. But I don't think that I would seriously be able to say yes to him. Even as she's only a couple years older than him, I just don't think that he's actually serious about dating. And then Yinka, I feel as he uses his religion to kind of put women in certain boxes and categories. I think he uses it to kind of chastise them and oh, you're not like this. Oh, you're not like that. Oh, you're not like that. I want a good Christian woman. And I'm kind of like, I really thought that she was into him. I thought that they could have a little bit of a connection. And then when he turns around being like, "Oh, you said something about astrology,
Oh
Pop." Like,
yeah. We got the perfect guest, ladies and gentlemen, for this particular question because Chantele, you are my go-to astrology person. And so when this comes up, he does end up popping his balloon about her answer about astrology. I think at one point she asked someone's sign, and then when they basically were like, "Oh, you into that?" She's like, "Well, I don't really know, but yeah, I still want to know." He didn't like that at all. He ends up popping her balloon. It felt like we were going to get our first match, and we did not. So, did you feel attacked by this line of questioning
I
from
did.
Nika?
I
Yeah.
did. Well, because it's coming from someone that doesn't know anything about it, and so it's a judgment around it. It's just like to me, it's an eye roll. It's like, oh, like you're a person like that means this, and I'm like, actually, you don't know anything about astrology. It's not just your sun sign and what your horoscope says in the magazine. Like I study astrology once a week, and I've been doing this for like 4 years. And right now I'm in a financial astrology class, learning how to predict things with the stock market and like altcoins. Like you can use it in different ways. It's actually all like a mathematical configuration of the planets and the energies and how they interact with each other. And I think that's really fascinating. And so I just think it's kind of small-minded, and it would give me an ick if like someone was immediately so offended by someone just asking a question. It was like a full judgment on her as a person without even like giving her any room to explain herself, and it didn't even matter to him. So yes, I felt attacked, and I would have popped my balloon for his response there for sure.
She would have had to pop his balloon because her balloon.
Yeah.
She didn't at this point. She didn't. Yeah, he was in charge because they got down to the last two. But what about this question, Chantele? What is the single hardest thing about dating you?
You're asking me?
Yeah. Is that off the table?
Oh no, it's not. I'm just kidding. So I would say that I do a lot of different things, and I'm always traveling, and I'm always on the go. So it's kind of like a fast-paced lifestyle, like last minute plans, being very flexible. And so some people might not be able to deal with that, with like, you kind of experienced it this weekend that your flight was delayed 12 hours. That could happen to me at work, and I could have plans the next day, and all of a sudden everything has to shift and change, and I'm doing something differently. So I think that would probably be the hardest thing, is that my plans are kind of always transient, and they're never always concrete. And I'm fine with that because like I like last minute, let's go, and like, hey, do you want to pop on a plane tomorrow and go somewhere for a couple weeks or a couple days? Like I can do that. But a lot of people are more of a planner and like things set in stone. And if that's their way of being, that wouldn't probably work with me.
Okay, y'all. I hope you're taking notes. Okay?
And what about you, sir?
Okay, and I feel like you can relate to this a little bit. I'm a flight risk. When things get tough, I could go find something else to do. I think that like I'm not necessarily I'm a very flexible person in my real life, and I like to go and do different stuff, and I like to have a good time. And when things are not great, it doesn't take much for me to think, okay, like I could go find greener pastures like in other places. I do not lock in if I think that we are not equally into
Is
it.
that
You know what I'm saying?
answer?
No, I think his was he doesn't date until he's serious. And what I'm saying is like when I start get the inkling that it's like that I am more serious than you are, then I'm gonna start to pull back. Like I definitely am not in the business of sticking around where I'm not wanted, where I don't feel appreciated, because I'm going to try to give you everything that you want. And so while I'm trying to do that, we gotta have some type of reciprocity, at least some type of appreciation, or it's just, to me, I'm not going to feel the type of attraction that's gonna make me want to stay. Like I'm very much kind of like I don't have to date. Like I'm good at entertaining myself. I really am. And so for me, it's like for me, we can date or we cannot. And then like if we're in, we're in. But if we're not in, let me know because I could be out of here. And so that is like my toxic trait.
My mom always says, and this could actually be kind of toxic, she's like, the man always has to like you just a little bit more than you like them. And so by that theory, then you'd be out because you'd be liking that person a little bit more, and you wouldn't.
A little is one thing, Chantele. Okay, but a little is one thing. Like, cause look. if I'm coming into this relationship, hopefully I'm dating up anyway. Like I'm thinking like, shit, I'm just lucky to have this girl's attention anyway, but I need to feel appreciated. I do. And when I don't, again, I'm very good at just kind of like finding something else to do. And I could look like when I see a red flag, I see the red flag, I acknowledge the red flag, and then I'm just like waiting on that bad boy to get redder so I can go. And that's like my toxic trait. I'm not sticking around to get beat up on. You know, I've lived a life. You know what I'm saying? I've dated before, and you know, you try to be all in, and sometimes it's not great when you're all in and someone else is not. And so for me, I could peace out very quickly. You have to be you gotta keep an eye on me, I guess I should say, because I'm not gonna cheat. I'm just gonna go. And I think that's the problem.
I mean, that's better than cheating. So I mean, at least that's your toxic trait isn't like super toxic.
Right. It could be worse. But yeah, anything else stand out from those first round of daters before we get into round two?
I guess like I actually thought that Angela was kind of hurt by Yinka not giving it a chance. I think she felt that there was a little bit of a connection. It seemed as though when he started talking about Faith, it gave her the opportunity to kind of be like, actually, Faith is something that is really important to me. I don't know if she was just saying that because she wanted to appeal to him, or she was really happy that somebody on the panel like had shared some values with her. And so I think that he really kind of disappointed her with like allowing that little words that she said about astrology determine the fact that she wasn't dateable anymore. And so I was kind of disappointed that he was so, like that was a red flag for him, you know.
Can I admit something? I saw this coming a mile away for him. So he talked about his spirituality very early on, and then he asked her a question. Well, he says one of the things, like when she asked the hardest thing about dating him, he says his time and his faith, he needs the person to be, as into his faith as he is. He's like, don't just say you're into it. You have to practice it. You have to live it, this and another. And so right then I said, oh, he's picking at her answer, right? Because he found that like those two things in his mind contradicted himself. And so it was like that last moment where he popped, I was like, I feel like he's going to stick to that because there's no reason why he should really be. It felt to me like he was almost challenging her faith. Like she said, like, I'm into it too. And he's like, oh, really? Because why are you asking about astrology if you're so into it? Like, that's how it felt to me. So I definitely saw that pop coming. It did look like she was kind of blindsided by it, though. So tough break for her.
I mean, it's not every day that you have somebody on a dating show that's leading with faith as one of their most important qualities in another person, and finding somebody that does also have that. So the fact that someone mentions like what's your star sign, like it's just crazy that derails their faith. Like, yeah. Anyways.
Yeah,
he's what they handsome, though, yeah. But he's not for me. His bloom would be popped.
Well, let's talk about Ix, Chantele. So in the Love Lounge with Chinedu, he says this is a space where you can talk about things and ask questions about each other and find out what it is that, if y'all are actually compatible. Like we do the balloon pops, but then they send them to the lounge to go top. We don't have anybody in the lounge yet, but he did mention Ix. I know you said that one of your Ix would have definitely been Yinka's like answer to that, or kind of his reaction to that. What are some other Ix that you have, Chantele?
I definitely don't like, I don't know if it's like an ick or a pet peeve, but just people being like rude to support staff, waiters, anything like that, especially in my presence, even if they're trying to make it funny. Like, it's just like, I don't find that cool at all. Like, I understand sometimes losing your temper and like it happens, but if it's in the beginning stages and I don't know this as your personality, that would be a major red flag. Ick. Like, we're done. I don't like what's another one? I've seen one recently. Go ahead.
Well, he mentioned someone being a flat earther, and look at your reaction. And it's funny because my reaction was very similar. Is that like, look, I'm down for the conspiracy theory every now and then. I love the stray. Theory. Like I love something like that. Just like a little stray, harmless, whatever.
Yeah.
But to our core, we have some very similar beliefs. Like, I'm not saying that like I'm not about to be arguing with you for the rest of my life about if the earth is flat or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not doing it.
I
So
know.
there are definitely some conversations that I'm leaning into because I
Yes.
want to hear what your answer is, so I'll
Yeah.
know if I need to take you seriously. And if you tell me the Earth is
100%.
flat, you ain't got to worry about me.
We're done likely. Sorry,
Yeah,
unfortunately,
yeah.
I just don't think that's an intelligent stance to take. I'm sorry, any flat earthers that might be watching or hearing. I just
Right.
don't. So I was flying with this one of my best friends on board, and like she's an older woman, like maybe about 10 years older than me, and like we always work together, and I love her so much. And she told me that the Earth is flat, and I was like, and she's like, I'm not joking. I'm like, what do you mean you're not joking? And
Yeah.
she's like, trying to defend it. I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that the earth is flat and that there's an ice wall at the end that has guards so people don't climb up it and fall off of the earth. She's like,
Mm,
yeah. I'm like, how can, like, I have to, like, how can I even have to make you see that this is not inane here? And she's like,
yeah.
I think it's possible. Like you've never seen, how do you know that it's round? I'm like, I know it's round. Okay. I
Right.
know
I'm
it's
good.
round.
Yeah, you like I've flown around this bad boy. I know exactly that. Like I know that there's no wall that I could hit, but they look again. Hey, look, believe what you want to believe. Just know I'm not gonna be there with you on the journey. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I just can't support that. I can't.
Yeah.
I love having intelligent conversations, and I just don't think that that one fits into that category.
Okay, so let's bring in dater number two. It's a woman named Casey. She's 30. She works in sports media, and she says she needs someone to complement her life and kind of get her away from her career-oriented energy. I think she's been very driven, and now she wants to relax with somebody and kind of settle down and like kind of get to chill a little bit. And so immediately, we get some pops for her. Floyd pops. He says he doesn't like her legs being out too much. I don't know, Floyd. I think you're tripping.
Like, I think she's beautiful. I mean, I don't love the outfit, but like, I wouldn't pop my balloon because like I didn't want to see her legs. I wanted to have a little more mystery with her. Like, really, if you had the
Yeah.
opportunity to go on a date with this woman, you'd be like, you know what? I don't want to go through with this date because you're showing your legs here. Like, get the f out of here. I just think that he wasn't interested in her, and he was just using the
Right.
legs thing as an excuse.
Okay. And then we also get Rolando popping and saying she's too old. She's too old for him. She's
She is.
30 and I think what is he 25, 26 or something like that.
Yep.
And so between her being 30, him being 25, I think Javian as well, he's 25. She's never really dated younger, she says. She says, but 15 years plus is like what she would be willing, like that's her window. Recently, this last week, I was traveling and I was talking to this woman from Mississippi, and I already was looking at her crazy because she's from Mississippi, but she was cute or whatever, so we was cool. And she told me, and she blew my mind. Black women got this magical power to just like not look their age. She told me she was 50, and I was like, oh my god. And she was like, but she very much was like, so get away from me. You're too young. And I was like, damn. Meanwhile, I was thinking I ain't going nowhere. Like let's talk. And so yeah, I very much got dismissed by an older woman this weekend. 15 years though. That's a pretty big window.
50 is too much. I find that the women being older than the men, it's a little bit different than the other way around. I find that women tend to mature a little bit more quickly than a man does. And so when it's the other way around, to me, it just has to be a plaything, boy toy type energy. Sometimes I've heard of like maybe 4 years or so like of an age difference, but after that I don't see, like, I haven't heard of that many long-term relationships working out with like a 15-year age gap. Like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't usually last that long.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wasn't looking for a long-term relationship with a 50-year-old woman.
So what were you looking for?
We were just having conversation, but when I tell you she dismissed me very quickly when she realized that I was not indeed in my, she told me her son was my age, and I was just like, who? I was like, this person, I might be talking to somebody granny right now, and I guess I've made it to that point in life. But it very much was interesting being on that end of that because I rarely like I give off young energy anyway. So I think she had just been waiting to ask me how old I was, And so when she finally told me she was 50, she could have knocked me over. I was just like, what? But again, it didn't bother me as much as I thought it would be that she was 50 years old. It definitely bothered her. She was like, I'm out. So Yeah, I thought this was interesting to see that the age thing does kind of take place here, but we get some good questions too, and notably from is it Logan? Yeah, Logan. So Logan is a short king. He is 24 years old, and he says the best thing he got from his last relationship is that now he's here to meet Casey, and he's landed on thick, Chantele, but he was here to play.
He was so whack to me. Like,
Ah,
I didn't find him to be like smooth talker, charming. Like for me, it wouldn't work on me. He's way too young. I'm not really into like the surfer boy thing. Maybe when I was in high school, I would think that was cool. But unless you're a pro surfer and you're making millions of dollars, I just like it's a hobby. Like get a job. It's what it feels like, right? A little bit, but that could be me being judgmental. Was he a surfer? Is he actually a surfer? No, he's a. What was he?
I don't remember.
A delivery person. I can't remember.
I don't remember. I do not recall. Oh, dog walker. He's a dog walker.
That's, yeah. I mean, I do that in my spare time. How much money can he, unless it's his own business, different. But he didn't really say that it's his own business. Anyways, I just feel
5-year plan. Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like he's not serious enough for me. And that's, I guess, one of the things that I have a problem with this particular version of the show is that if you're trying to make matching like connections, you kind of have to take in consideration the age. You can't have a 10-year age gap with some of the daters. It's just not going to work. And is it maybe just so to get the balloon popped? I don't know. But like, I just think it's kind of boring to be like, oh, age. Like, that's not, and like, it's just a boring conversation to have. Like, yeah, we get it. Like, age is, the gap's too big. It's not going to work. I think it's more interesting if the age gap is similar and people are actually really could date each other. And then you can kind of really get into why things would work and would not work. And so, yeah, I think he's a miss, but not for everybody.
Right, not for everybody, because Cinco ends up popping. He says he doesn't feel the spark. Seth pops because he says it feels like she's got a little more going on with Logan. Yinka pops because he says he's not really feeling the vibe. So this does leave Logan left with his balloon. He asks her about her favorite movies. She says White Chicks and Remember the Titans. And I'm thinking she really loves a nostalgic movie because it's been a very long time. Like her movie love is probably about as big as her age gap window, 15 years.
Which one is Remember the Titans?
It's Denzel Washington.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Denzel Washington going and running the football team. And then, of course, we all know White Chicks, which, again, it's been over 15 years for both of those films, if I'm not mistaken.
Really? That's your favorite movie?
Hey, I love
I've seen it many times. I love it, but I just don't know if I would say that is my favorite movie.
Yeah, and he likes La La Land and Whiplash, and I look Whiplash honestly ranks higher on that list than Remember the Titans for me. I love Whiplash, but also not a very recent movie. Maybe we're just not doing movies like we used to.
Do you know what? That is definitely true. I used to be a religious movie watcher. Like I'd be seeing 2 movies a week for sure, and I remember even with my dad, me and my brother, my dad and my stepmom, we would all go to a movie on like a Sunday and then we'd sneak into the next movie later on. So we'd see 2 movies like in a day all the time. I don't do movies that much anymore. I force myself to go to TIFF, and like I'm part of like a movie club here with Grace. And I do see movies, but like not in the same way as I used to in the past. I still love movies.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I do need to go see Sinners soon, but aside from that, like movies just don't be on my radar like that. And so this apparently works for them both. They ask if it's a lock or a pop, and it's a lock. We finally have a match. 2 episodes in. 5 daters in, we have a match, Logan and Casey. There is a bit of a height difference, Chantele.
I think that she's like, I just didn't want to go off the stage without a match. Like, I really think for both of them, actually. Logan's probably just like, I don't want people to be judging me on my height anymore. Like, okay, let me see if I can lock it down with this one and let's get off the stage. Because how long do you think that they're going to last?
They're just gonna go.
Are they already broken up?
I think they're going. Yeah, they're not together. This is not a relationship. This was a date or a couple dates, right? But this is not a relationship.
Do you think there'll be follow-ups on these couples?
No, they're not gonna ever give us a follow-up, and I think we deserve one. I think I would love to see. I mean, don't get me wrong. and about to be a conversation about two couples in, out of the what, seven, I guess that we're up to now, five, six, seven, yeah, six, seven, yeah, seven couples that I think we've gone through, or rounds that
Maybe.
we've gone through. And so I can see us maybe finding out later on about some of these people, but I don't know. I don't know.
We'll
I don't know
see at the
about this. I
next
don't know about this
episode
one.
if they're gonna be actually. If maybe if a lot of people in the comments are like, "Hey, we want to know a little bit more
We want to
about Logan
know.
and Casey. Let's see what's going on." Maybe we'll get like a Yvonne being like follow up at the beginning of the next episode because they have
Yeah,
room to tweak things. So
they
hopefully,
do. They do. Now we might not get a follow up on Logan and Casey, but I'm sure if we watch reality TV close enough, we'll get a follow up on this next couple. So we do have Zaina. She, as you've already pointed out, is from The Ultimatum, and she is 34. And she says she's looking for someone who is decisive and who handles conflict well. And immediately she says she knows Cinco. They already know each other. And I thought they know each other like they just met. But now that you've pointed out that she's also from a Netflix show, do you think they really just met at Coachella, or does she know Cinco from other shows?
I think she has maybe seen him on other shows.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've both been in the reality TV circuit in the last
Mm-hmm.
couple years. I do think that maybe they met for the first time officially at
At Coachella,
Coachella,
yeah.
but I wouldn't be surprised if they both were like, "Oh, I'm going to be on Pop the Balloon. Oh, you're going to be on the Pop Balloon. Okay, we'll pretend like we don't. We just met, and let's just lock it in." That's what
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, that they kind of divulged that they're going to both be on the show.
Yeah, I don't think they met at Coachella and then just didn't talk about that they were about to go film this live Netflix thing that has been like it's been divisive, but it's also been very popular. People have talked about it, and so there's no way that they didn't know that they were going to be there. I'm sure that like if she or he are familiar with each other's work, then they at least know about each other, and so maybe there's already a standing attraction there. But this is an uphill battle for everybody else. Rolando wisely pops his balloon very quickly.
Well,
But
like, come on, give this woman a chance. She's beautiful. Oh, now that she's 34, like she's older than every single person that is there. And
mhm.
so it's just like unfair that she has to, date someone that's a little bit younger than her, if that's maybe not her preference. She didn't get many
Yeah.
options, I felt. And I think that she's a catch.
Yeah. So Floyd pops because he says she knows Cinco, and so I'm good. Rolando pops. He says he's 25 and she's 34, and so that's a decent age gap. Marco's 29 and he pops because she says she thinks he judged him on his answer. Now we just meet Marco for the first time in this round, and
Oh, I was
Marco,
like, who's Marco again? Oh, yeah,
right,
okay,
he shows up and he's a comedian. He talks about how he wants a woman who is comfortable enough mingling when they're like at a function where he goes to the restroom and she won't follow him to the restroom. And I guess the look on her face or something like that really kind of led him to feeling like, okay, she's not feeling it. But he does pop the balloon very early, and he was 29 to her 34, which isn't that big of a gap compared to some of these other ones.
I thought that he was quite overly sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause, I mean, maybe he thought that he was being funny and it wasn't landing, and like maybe he could just sense that his type of funny wasn't vibing with her, and she's just trying to stand there figuring him out, and so he's just like, "Pop, I don't feel the vibe." But I thought that he was kind of defensive. And I'm like, you're the one that's talking about bringing a girl that you like in the past. You must have had a girl that follows you to the bathroom and won't go and mingle on her own. And so for
Mm-hmm.
you to be saying this as your statement here, and so I can understand her making a face. Anyways, I thought he
Yeah.
was being a bit judgmental towards her, and just kind of wanted to like get at it first before she popped her balloon for him.
Yeah, it very much felt like that too. Like he was like, she ain't feeling it, so I'm out. Javian has a good run in this round. He's 24. He says he has trust issues from his last relationship. And so she doesn't have a real issue with that answer. Seth, who we've seen pop a couple times very early on, he's a physical therapist. He says his red flag that he looks for or that he can spot in a relationship is being a DJ. So he don't like that. And his last relationship was 3 years ago, and he learned the value of service, of acts of service in his last relationship, and just trying to give his partner what he needs. But this doesn't work out for him either. So there's a few. The daters kind of stick around a little bit longer for Zaina as in comparison to Casey. But did anybody stand out for you aside from our ultimate winner, Cinco, in this moment?
I didn't think that there's any shot for anybody else other than Cinco here. As soon as I saw that she knew him or recognized him, knew his name, I was like, I mean, they look the best together. They had a little bit of an energy, a little bit of a vibe. I just didn't see her with anybody else over Cinco. So I think Seth was hoping that maybe, he was throwing out a red flag just to see, like, is that going to be a problem? You
Yeah.
know? Which is actually
Mhm.
something I just saw on TikTok. A woman
Oh,
was talking about to when you're doing a dating profile, actually put all your potential red flags out there. So, I would be putting them all about I love astrology and I'm always traveling around all the things that people
around the
might
globe, the round the
exactly.
globe, exactly.
And so that people, when they're looking, they'll be like, oh, this is who she is. Like, if they're not interested, we're not going to waste your time. You don't have to find out that, like, oh, it's going to irritate them. So I think that that's kind of what Seth was doing here with being like, yeah, I'm also a DJ. So, like, if that's a problem, you're going to know from now. And if it's not, then, oh, maybe we can move forward here.
Yeah, there were a couple cool questions that they asked her. They ask about her red flags, and she says her exes. Oh, there is a question that they asked the first dater that I can't believe I skipped over this. They asked, "What's your relationship with your exes?" And she says, "I blocked them immediately." Chantel, not to out myself too much, but I do too. All my
You're a
exes be
blocker.
blocked. Ooh, blocker,
Oh,
king
because
block.
it's the Aquarius, right? It's the Aquarius that you're blocking, huh?
Yeah, they gotta go. All of them. Every last one of them can go because there's nothing good. Nothing has ever good come between me and an Aquarius every time. Bad news. So yeah, they gotta go. But I felt this. I felt this. Why do we backtrack? Why do we have to go back to old things, Chantel? We
No
figured
spin the
out this doesn't
block.
work.
I
Yeah.
get that, but I mean, I would think though it's nice to maybe block immediately, but hopefully be able to come to a point where you can be potentially civil with one another, or just have, like, if you bump into each other, you'd have like a nice hi, how are you, nice to see you again, because you spent some of your life here on earth with this person, and I would hope that you wouldn't want to completely cut ties completely. But I understand maybe in the beginning it might be too painful depending on how things went down or what happened. But I would hope that there'd be some room for just like energetic reconciliation, you know?
You got any good relationship with your past exes? Like keep a friendly, hey, happy birthday, Merry Christmas type situation
I
going?
did stop doing that because I heard that who is it? Nick Vial didn't his book title is "Stop Wishing Your Ex Happy Birthday."
Oh my God. No, I didn't know
I
that.
think I think that's the title of his book or something, or maybe an article. I think it was his book. And I think cutting the ties is good, but I don't think like blocking is the way to cut their ties. So I definitely have. If I were to bump into any of them, it would be a fine. But I'm not keeping a friendship with any of them. Like we're done, we're cool, it's over. If I see you, I'll be curious as to what you're doing. I'll be happy for any of your successes, but we're not like super friendly in that way.
Okay. And so it's 7 p.m. Friday. You had a stressful week. This is her final question. Okay. She says, what do you do to help her out with her stressful week? They both talk about date nights. She comes in and he's telling her, hey, let's drive somewhere. JV's 24, so he's already I guess it's an uphill battle anyway against Cinco, being that she does have such a big age gap on him. But he says drive. I change your scenery, get some hotel, get some wine, some food. Cinco kind of says the same thing, but he like lounges and spa dates and even going and playing games and being more competitive. And so she ends up cutting JV in here and going on and picking Cinco as her lock. Says it's a lock, but she does ask, does anyone think that they're in a relationship with you and they're not, like, currently? Now, do you think this is the question she asked anybody, or is this a Cinco specific question? Because
Seems
between you
Cinco
and me,
specific to
it
me.
does feel like she knows him. You know what I'm saying? Like it does feel like she might have watched Love
Or
Island.
maybe he was all over somebody at Coachella that she was maybe a little bit surprised that he's on this dating show when Maybe it looked like
Ooh.
he was in a relationship or the beginning of a relationship with someone at Coachella. That's what that sounded like to me.
Oh.
And it
You,
seemed like it was Cinco specific.
it feels to me like she might have did her research. I think that, okay, she knows Cinco from the community. She probably seen Love Island or whatever. She meets him at Coachella. Let's say he's alone. Let's say the two of them or they link up in a group of reality, Netflix people or whatever. And then he says, "Hey, I'm gonna be on Pop the Balloon." And she's like, "Oh yeah, me too. Wouldn't it be cool if we chose each other? Yeah, that'd be funny. Let's see what happens." Chantele, there's no world where she doesn't at that point get on the phone and start asking around, like, is Cinco attached to anybody? Does she get on the Facebook group? Does she does the Instagram stalking? Something had to lead her to ask this question, but she made sure to stop. She said, "Can I have one last question? Stop. Just so we're clear. You single, right?" So to me, it felt like she might have been doing a little digging just to be on the safe side.
Good point. It's a good point. I definitely think, okay, I don't think that they messed up with their NDAs, but I think as reality stars, they kind of know how to intimate, like that, insinuate that, there's something, that they're going to be going on a show. And so I could see him being like, yeah, I'm going to be doing something with Netflix. And she's like, oh, I'm going to be doing something with Netflix this weekend as well. Oh, okay, maybe we'll see you there. Mm-hmm. That's probably it. Right? And then she probably went to like, okay, Cinco, who is he? And then all of his history. And so, I agree with you that she probably did some research. I think that she's probably interested in him because he's a handsome man and he's in the reality TV sphere, and he would be good to, if she wants to kind of move in that world. But yeah, she wants to clarify, like, so you sure you don't have somebody else that's interested in you?
Yeah. And he says nope. He says he's good. And so we have another lock. So that's 2 matches on this episode of Pop the Balloon Live. Chantele, this is fun. I know, look, they're doing this every week. I don't know if you want to just keep talking about the show, but I'm having a good time.
I do. Yeah. It's fun. It's fun enough. Okay. Like I'm talking about things that are less fun in this show.
Yeah, look, me too. And so honestly, listen, if you're listening to this podcast, make sure you go to nothingbutpod.com and subscribe to the Nothing But Netflix podcast feed and go listen to what Chantele and I talked about for episode 1. But if you have already done that, then maybe tune in next week to see if Chantele and I talk about episode 3. Would you be down for that?
Of course I'd be down for that. That's like I wouldn't want anything else. I would love to.
Okay. So I think we have a thing. I think we're coming back for episode 3. We're going to talk about more of these daters, more of the pop stars, and get into some more about
Chappell.
We're going to get in Chantele business, y'all. And so in the meantime, Chantele, tell everybody where they can find you and where they can follow you and keep up with what else you have going on until you come back for Pop the Balloon episode 3.
Seriously. Well, things actually just came to a wrap with the Challenge All-Stars. So earlier on today, I don't know if this is going to be posted today. So what day is it today? Monday. Yes. Easter Monday. Michelle and I, we actually talked about the finale of the Challenge All-Stars 5. So that was a good time. I will be coming back again to talk about our draft that we have. So, if you go to Reality Realness with 3 S's and subscribe on YouTube, ring that bell, and you'll know when we go live to talk about more things, the challenge. And that means I have nothing else going on right now other than this with you. So yes. I guess my balloon is going to stay intact today, right?
Yeah. There's a lot. We're locked in. Let's check out next week and see if Chantele pops the balloon. But until then, I would love to have you back. Obviously, if the listeners are into it, hopefully you put something in the comments. Let us know what you think about some of these daters, and we'll try to get the next episode out a little bit earlier. Like I said, I was traveling last week, so it was tough. But yeah, if we could get this episode out maybe like Friday or something like that, that would be nice. Friday or Saturday, so you guys can give us some real time. Some real time feedback about what you all are thinking about the show. So make sure you check that out, and then of course subscribe to the podcast. recapkickback.com/subscribe. Make sure you check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/@recapkickback. Anything else, Chantele?
I mean, I'm going to have to find some questions for you next time.
Oh, yeah. We're going to get in each other's business. I think I like the questions they've been asking, and we're just going to keep shooting them at each other until one of us cracks.
I mean, I do love this. It's what makes it most fun.
Yeah, okay. We're having a good time here on Golden Pop the Balloon Live.
Should I get a gold balloon for next week?
I think we might need to get gold balloons for next week. But until then, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here. We'll talk to you all next week. Peace.
I've been trapped behind Tall Maria, isolated like it's North Korea. Smaller city with some bigger dreamers. The wall is cracked, I'm looking in between it. The world is yours, but man, I gotta see it. They say it's hard, but man, I gotta see it. The air I'm breathing can't feel my chest. Wait on life, I wanna hold my breath. I'ma get in my goddamn self.